David Tropp Hag, Vice President EMEA Sales of KVH Industries, to give his presentation on connectivity as an operation reality. And in the meantime, I would like also to ask Rohit, Yvonne, Angelos, and Sergei to get wired in the corner down there so that we can immediately start with the panel discussion. As you have seen, this year we have more discussions than presentations. So I would like to have your involvement in the discussions today. David, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Adonis. And this is the changer?
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Adonis, for inviting us to participate in this year's CSN, the 7th in a row. I think we have been here from the very start. So it's always a pleasure to come back to Cyprus. A little bit disappointed about the weather this year, I must say. But it's actually better in Denmark, believe it or not. But yeah. But I'm here to open the first session to give a little bit of an overview of where we are with connectivity on the vessels and how connectivity is shaping the operational reality on vessels. A lot of good things have been said already. I will perhaps repeat a bit of it, but that's the life of it. Through history, shipping has always been considered, well, ships have been considered autonomous entities. They're able to do things on their own. They can handle things without needing input from the outside. That has changed a lot in the last perhaps 10, 15 years. When ships have moved from having periodic connectivity to having continuous connectivity. Initially, we changed from services like EMEA and fleet broadband to VSAT, where always-on connectivity was a thing, but it was very limited. So now, latest, we have seen a big revolution with LEO systems, such as Starlink and OneWeb entering the market and causing a big revolution in how ships are operated. But it also means we become a little bit more dependent on connectivity. Ships are no longer connectivity is no longer just a nice to have, it's really a critical thing on the vessel. Operational risk, not just, it's a risk if you don't have your connectivity, not just an inconvenience. If the ship is down, it basically means in many cases that you cannot operate your business on the vessel, and that could mean income loss, it could mean peril to the seafarers, and it could mean hazards in many different ways. So you could say connectivity is the underpin of safety, efficiency, and decision-making on the vessels. So you can say vessels have moved from becoming assets floating around the world to being connected nodes of the enterprise network. So this change from a traditional model of isolated and delayed responses and autonomous operation out on the vessel has been replaced with a new real-time, always-on connected vessel. The vessels are now integrated in the office systems. Everything that's going on the vessel is immediately replicated back in the office systems, so you know what's going on the vessel. The shore teams can interact continuously with the vessels. They don't necessarily have to wait for the noon report to tell them what's going on. So they can make decisions immediately, reducing the cycles of decision time from days to minutes. So this is a very big change in the way you operate ships, and it also moves some of the decision-making power and the need for expertise from the ship to the vessel. No, sorry, from the vessel to the shore. But with this change, we have also seen an explosion in demand for bandwidth. Of course, when you get new opportunities, you find new ways to utilize them. So that means also new ways to use data on the vessels, such as crew welfare. Crew welfare has always been important, but with new services, you can now provide a lot more to the crew and make sure that the crew is equally well taken care of. But you also have operational data increasing manifold with sensors on board the ships, connected applications, servers on the vessels needing to talk to the office constantly. This means you have competing priorities on the vessel. You need operations to be protected So you have your IoT sensors, your onboard computings, your mapping applications, things that you need to run the vessel and run the business. These need to be protected and have first priority on the network. But you also have the crew. You need them to have a good experience of connectivity. They have high expectations nowadays. You can't just, they won't accept what they may have accepted 10 years ago. For crew welfare, we see video on demand being a big thing at the moment. Streaming services are expected almost, even if it's a little bit unrealistic still. Even with high-speed data, you might be able to do it technically, but economically it's still not a viable proposition. And of course, the cost needs to still be balanced. It doesn't mean that your budgets have exploded to buy all the connectivity in the world just because opportunities have become bigger. Budgets still need to be maintained and balanced with the right level of connectivity on the vessel. So another challenge has been the legacy systems of VSAT and fleet broadband in particular, where latency of the connection has been quite high. This has limited the possibility to do cloud-based computing, and systems that are always on, they would have been very sluggish operating from the vessel over the satellites to the shore-based servers. But with the new LEO services, connections are very fast, and you can actually operate in cloud-like environments on the ship without feeling a lot of lag. So this means that bandwidth is no longer the only constraint. It is still a constraint in some ways, because if you have 20 crew members wanting to download movies or stream news from home, you still need to protect your bandwidth so that the ship can operate. But latency is also a constraint. And of course, the data volumes themselves can be a constraint, because many of the new models are actually data volume, priced. So the big change came a couple of years ago with LEO, or low Earth orbit. I'm just assuming everybody knows what LEO is, because I live and breathe it every day. But LEO is low Earth orbit satellites. Should always explain that. But that started a few years ago when Starlink launched. They have just rounded 10,000 satellites active, which is. We saw some last night, the day before. Oh yeah. The night before. There was a convoy. A convoy of about. It's quite an amazing sight when you see this row of satellites on their way to orbit. It's quite fascinating. So Starlink has launched more than 10,000 satellites that are now active. Many of them are already ready for the next step, which is direct to mobile, something coming maybe in a few years. We still wait to see how that will impact vessels and especially crew welfare. OneWeb has been slowly marching on. They are also on the market now. They still have a couple of gateway stations to deploy in order to become fully global. And then we have Amazon creeping up on the horizon. They have just crossed 300 satellites launched. I read an article on LinkedIn from a good consultant. He said that when they pass around 550 satellites, they will have enough to offer to offer service, and that's expected to be somewhere at the end of this year. Not global service, but in a band of maybe 35 to 55 degrees latitude. So that will be the start of Amazon, probably. It will take them a long time to have global coverage. I don't believe that global coverage from Amazon is until the end of 2027, but it's coming for sure. And when you have a guy like Jeff Bezos backing it, then there's a big chance it will become reality. But as I mentioned, the low latency of these connections enables near terrestrial user experiences on board the vessels, resulting in cheap, high-performing, reliable connectivity. I remember, actually 7 years ago, I believe it was, we had Rivada presenting here. Yeah. And I think before Joe Appa stepped on stage, I had myself made the mistake of saying that I don't think ever that satellite communication will catch up, or vessel connectivity will catch up with ground infrastructure. But I think we're actually where they have caught up now.
I just read yesterday that Elon Musk is supposed to shoot 42,000 satellites within the next few years.
The numbers are mind-boggling if you.
Yeah. Worldwide
They are shooting up satellites more than 2 times a week, I think. So it's at a speed that is difficult to comprehend. But of course, this is still vessels. So even if they have a fiber connection that is almost like at home, it's still a fiber connection that needs to serve a whole business and a community of maybe 20, 25 seafarers to share one connection. So it'll never be 100% the same, but it's getting closer and closer. Both Amazon and Starlink are promoting 1 gigabit per second to come. Starlink is saying already this year, Amazon whenever they are ready with it. But this will mean that we go from maximum 400 today to 1,000 megabits per second. So it's again, mind-boggling. Yeah, so I got a little bit off track here. Yeah, so this has meant a lot of changes to the industry, for sure. The way we sell and talk about bandwidth has changed a lot. We used to talk about CIR, committed information rates. This was the guarantee we gave to the ship owners and the ship managers. See, this is the minimum service you will get. But when Starlink came in, they kind of swept that off the table, said, well, we have 400 megabits per second. Who cares if it's not 400 megabits all the time? Maybe it's 200, maybe it's 150. Nobody needs a CIR because it's always good enough, at least until it gets very congested. And maybe we'll get to that point, and maybe CIR will become important again. But right now, everybody's happy with the maximum information rate. But we've also seen a change from bandwidth management. As I said, when bandwidth was very constrained, we needed to make sure that the important applications had first priority. But now the more important topic is actually managing data volumes, because you typically subscribe to a data package of 100, 500, 1,000 megabytes, and then you want to stay on that in order to keep your budget. So that's more important now than managing the bandwidth itself. We've also seen a change to shorter contracts, which is, I guess, especially in the ship management community, very welcome, that you don't have to tie in for 3 years when you don't know if the vessel is staying with you so long. So that's a welcome change. Another change that we have noticed coming in is maritime 5G. And you could say it's not new, but it has become more critical because now vessels are expecting very high speeds all the time. And when you get into zones where LEO services are no longer available because of geopolitical circumstances, then you need something that is almost as good. And 5G is actually both just as fast and just as cheap. So 5G has taken a new role in becoming a more critical backup, actually. It's ideal in ports and terminals and in certain offshore zones, especially in the Gulf of Mexico, America, depending on where you look at it from. And the North Sea, we have some well built out networks in the oil fields there. Yeah, and I mentioned lower cost per gigabyte compared to satellites, but it's a complement because obviously you still need offshore coverage, which 5G cannot provide. So, but it complements satellite connectivity in a very nice way. So this leads to the rise in hybrid connectivity, combining all of the three we mentioned here, the old-fashioned VSAT and FBB type connectivity with the new LEO services and 5G services. And this kind of hybrid connectivity gives you the best of all worlds. Have seen the switching between the networks. You have reduced hardware prices because the new systems are quite cheap in investment, from an investment point of view. You have optimal speed and optimal coverage from the chosen route. You have applications that are routed intelligently over the different carriers depending on circumstances and priority. And you have automation in place to replace manual selection of networks. Typically, you have some sort of switching device that will handle selection of carriers depending on where you are in the world and what's the most favorable route for your data. And these boxes also typically separate crew data from operational data, which is a critical part of cybersecurity. Yeah, so with this bandwidth availability increasing rapidly, ships now have more bandwidth at their fingertips. So it's more important than ever to stop data consumption and costs from running away, and therefore have some sort of bandwidth optimization and management devices in place. But also to make sure you use the data efficiently, so it doesn't just flow away. And again, as I mentioned, application-aware routing is the new thing, SD-WAN, as some might have heard talk about. It's typically where you have a router that is able to distinguish traffic coming from one application from traffic coming from another application, and making sure that the right applications have the right priority and the right routing of carriers. Yeah. So all of this means that you have connectivity as a driver of operational and commercial performance. It can help you reduce your costs, improve your uptime, improve crew morale, and create efficient operations of your vessels. The way to operate or to improve operational efficiency is by real-time fleet monitoring and decision making, predictive maintenance of onboard equipment, crew welfare and retention improvement, meaning, well, in this day and age, crew shortages is very much talked about. So making sure your crew is happy and staying with you is very important. And it also enables, you can say, centralized decision making and expertise, and thereby fleet operations. So the new reality is that the ship is an always-on part of the enterprise network. They are continuously connected and not conditionally connected as they used to be. You have a multi-network strategy where you can select between different carriers on the vessel to always guarantee you the best and the fastest service. And it's really no longer a question of whether you're connected or not, it's how effectively you are connected all the time. That was my words. Thank you very much.